My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be John and Mother Goose Video 9, Jack, Part 3, by which I mean, of course, Jack of Jack and Jill fame. Here is my novella, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales, John and Mother Goose in the center, surrounded by mythical characters. And here's a summary. While driving his granddaughter home from daycare, John suddenly finds himself standing in the midway of a carnival of Mother Goose fairy tales. He's greeted by Jack of Jack and Jill fame, who tells John that Mother Goose is expecting him and she has a role for him to play. But what does Mother Goose want? And why does she think that John is a writer of detective stories? And why, when she meets John, does she greet him as almost a long-lost son? And for that matter, why do so many of the fairy tale characters have different stories? They want John to write for them instead of the ones in which they've lived for hundreds of years. John's not a mythical creature. He's only a human after all. But can he save the Mother Goose Carnival? Can he solve the mystery of the vanishing fairy tales? Well, Jack of Jack and Jill fame was born into a role. It's a role which is enacted along with his partner Jill for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. Why then, as he and John stroll along the midway and stop to watch the other mythical characters present their stories on the rickety stages of the Mother Goose Carnival of Tales, does Jack present John with a story that he wants John to write for him, in which he'll be able to play an entirely different role than the one for which he was originally created? Okay, so let's go to page 55 of chapter 8 and see what Jack has to say to John. So they've been strolling along the midway. Jack has been telling John of his dream of a future role for himself, and this is part 3 in terms of the sections I'm reading. I see you're a trifle skeptical, John. Jack stops me as we stroll. Perhaps our story seems to you a bit far-fetched. This is all quite important to Jack, but I'd rather be watching a few more nursery plays. You're wondering, John, how you can turn it into gold. Well, maybe when I think about it, I won't need you at all. Maybe I can get me an agent, one who has Hollywood connections. Maybe my story could go from me direct to film. But don't take this too hard, John. I can read the look on your face. Maybe you could be a consultant. There might be a few bucks in it for you. It's my idea, of course, but even if you don't write my film script, I'll be generous enough to throw you a couple of bones. Once I'm in the moolah, John, I just might keep you on the payroll just the same. One-way loyalty, I think that might be called. I move my eyes towards one of the stages, but Jack doesn't catch my drift. His eyes momentarily soften. He shifts to another mode. But really, John, just relax. Forget all that. We're a team, it seems to me. A little tiff of the moment. It's over now. You're just so mild, John, so passive that I get perturbed with you. We bonded quite solidly already, though. We've only exchanged a few words. I feel something about our partnership that I've never felt before. Jack's eyes become pools of emotion. Now look what's happening, John. I almost said I could feel our friendship right down to my bones. You almost had me, almost feeling human there. Jack seems to have me cornered. I look around for Mother Goose, if only she would come and rescue me. I understand why you hesitate, John, Jack continues with earnest eyes. You're a certain kind of writer. You want an airtight, watertight plot. You want a literary pail that will have no holes. Oh, I hate those movies that just wander all over the place. They call them films instead of movies. Important critics call them art. But they're just a shallow story with fractured time. So let's brainstorm for a bit, John, and see what we can see. Stick your oar in, John, whenever you have an idea. So, how could the mountain, a mountain taller than Everest, remain unknown to the world? Well, the land is private property, you see. It was a land claim that was staked out during a gold rush by a man who made a fortune panning gold. He was estranged from his father in England, who was a lord or a duke or an earl. He lived in a cabin by himself on this land that he had acquired. Only once or twice a year would he go into town. Well, the old fellow, the landowner, died and left his property to his sons, and they all lived in England and had estates of their own, so they didn't regard this property as anything but a useless piece of land. So none of them ever visited there at all. Jack's eyes are locked on mine. Now, how did a mother and a baby end up on the top of a mountain taller than Everest, you recall? Well, there was a plane crash, John, in the middle of the night. The mountain is not on the aviation charts. The only ones to survive are a mother and a child. But let me back up a bit. Actually, there wasn't a child at first. The mother was a few hours from giving birth at the time of the crash. She did so a few hours after she survived. My eyes are locked on Jack's. So, how does anyone know that there's a mother and a child on the mountain that's bigger than Everest that no one knows? Well, the black box is still working. It sends out signals every once in a while. It tells the air controllers exactly where they are. At first they're quite surprised. How could a baby be up in the air? The mountain that's bigger than Everest is not on their charts. Afterwards, John, one of the air controllers would say that he thought about the stork. But he wasn't very religious, so he set that thought aside. Excuse me. So, the SWAT team arrives on the property and discovers that there's a mountain taller than Everest, and decides, concludes, determines, ascertains that there's no one who can climb it, that there's no one who can climb the biggest mountain in the world. But the rumor spreads through the village, John. Someone comes up with an idea. They know that there's a person who used to go onto that property, now retired, who used to sneak there through the fence when the old fellow wasn't looking and when it was neglected by the sons, and who would climb that mountain taller than Everest, and look out at the world with his very own eyes, who once in a while, for $1, just $1, John, no more, which actually he would give immediately to the humble and the poor, when he would guide, sworn to secrecy, a multi-millionaire. In fact, the villagers wouldn't have known, John, so secretive was our hero, if a drinker in his cups, John, hadn't blurted it out one night, told all about the climber. Well, that souse in his cups was the former millionaire. And so the villagers tell the SWAT team, John, that they know about a man, the only one in the world who can make that climb. Excuse me again. And so I come out of retirement, not wanting any money, and I take a deep breath, and then I perform the deed. John hears a line in his mind. Jack and Jill went up the hill. The sons of the eccentric Lord John, who own the mountain taller than Everest, are so moved emotionally by the story of the rescue of the baby, the next heir to the eccentric Lord's estate, that they give the mountain to our hero, so he can climb it any time he wants to for the rest of his life without having, John, to sneak in through the fence. John hears another line in his mind. Sorry, my throat is getting dry. To fetch a pail of water. I have to admit, though, John, that I'm having trouble deciding whether I should be the actor who plays me in the film of my life or whether it should be a Hollywood actor, an award winner with plenty of gravitas. Here you see I'm me, you're talking with me now, but I also go on stage and act the scenes of my life, sort of like Mother Teresa starring in a film of her escapades. Who was the handicapped fellow who starred as himself in the best years of our lives? Didn't Audie Murphy act in his own story too? Either one, me or the two of us will get to attend the movie premiere. Maybe two or me will walk down the red carpet side by side. Jack goes on. And he says, I just have to break out of this rut, John. Jack was becoming quite persistent. I tried to resist the blazing eyes. You, John, are my ticket out of here. You think you came here to solve a crime, John. Well, consider the crime against me. I'm the victim, Jack the Waterboy, of a monstrous, heinous crime. If you solve it, you'll be bigger than Sherlock Holmes. I'm a mythical, not a human, an accident, John, of birth. The crime is that I can never, ever dream of being set free. The topic is never the topic, John. You're barking up the wrong tree. The true crime, the infraction, the felony, is tweaking your bloodhound nose. It's the atrocity that I think about all the time. Never mind where I was on the night in question, Detective Writer John. I've been here, stuck in this role since the world was a smoldering void, tumbling down and breaking my crown in a silly rhyme. And it obsesses me, torments me, bludgeons me no end as I go about my routines as the character that you know from the nursery rhyme. Don't you realize that behind every nursery rhyme there's a person? At least that's what I call myself, whether or not I am a person to the world. I suppose most people think of me as just a character in a plot, because they only see me when I'm tumbling across the stage. But there's an inner world that I live in, John, of thought and emotion too, in the many hours when I'm not falling and breaking my crown. I have hopes. I have aspirations, John. I have joy and heartache too. And what do I get for it? All my yearnings, John. A bucket of brackish water from a stagnant well. John hears another line while he's listening to Jack. Jack fell down and broke his crown. Oh, I'm unhappy, John. So unhappy. I sit down sometimes on the edge of the stage and dream amazing dreams. And everyone has me somewhere other than here. I can never be a human, John, but with the help of someone like you, a human writer, John, I can achieve the greatest of all human rewards. Jack's eyes become quite misty. His voice grows soft as he tells me his dream. To be a Hollywood star, John, in a major Hollywood movie that sets the turnstiles spinning and smashes all box office records, that makes me the envy of all on earth and sends me soaring above all heads on a trail of gold dust in the Hollywood stratosphere, holding an Oscar, John, beside my swimming pool. And if you don't care for the mountain thing, John, crumple it up and throw it away. I can think of dozens of stories. Let me know which one we should use. I want my surface to be in harmony with my core. I need you to set me free, John. No more lugging buckets of water on Carnival Row. John hears another line in his mind, and Jill came tumbling after. As far as Jill and I are concerned, John, she's been a great partner as far as that goes. Whoops, page problem here. But when I think about it, it's the only thing that keeps us together is the act. Many times I've thought that I'd be a lot better off if I were to strike out on my own. Oh, she'd do fine without my assistance. All she would need is another male. Who couldn't climb a hill to fetch a pail of water? I'll do that line again. Who couldn't climb a hill to fetch a pail of water? And as far as falling down goes, it doesn't take great acting. Every stuntman knows the tricks. Only the kids think I actually break my crown. I've always felt like Romeo, just a foil for Juliet. It's Jill's act. When you think about it, she gets more reaction from the crowd when she comes tumbling after than I do when I break my crown. There are louder cheers for her when we take our bows. She can keep the act with my blessing. I wouldn't complain or sue. She can even use the name Jack for her new leading man. They continue on. We stand here in the midway. Jack continues to press his case. All up and down the row there are nursery rhyme plays. The small crowd flows around us. None of the human visitors see us or hear us at all. Sorry, John, for getting so emotional. Jack sobs and wipes one eye. But the injustice, John, the injustice is getting to me. Please take my story and write it. How could you not see how moving it is? I have no doubt that you'll see eye to eye with me. Just look, John, at my story through Hollywood eyes. Hollywood loves an emotional yarn. It's been years since such a tearjerker lit up the screen. Oh, here's something you can add, John. It's occurring to me now, which is that one of the eccentric man's son had married an American girl, like Winston Churchill's father, and they wanted their baby and all their future children as well to be born on American soil. They own this patch of land, so that is why the plane is flying with a pregnant lady in the vicinity of the mountain that's taller than Everest. Americans don't like foreign stories. This will allow them to wave the flag. You can fit this into the screenplay wherever it goes. My eyes are spinning like pinwheels. I hope his lasers don't damage my own. Another line occurs to John. Up Jack got and home did trot. But can I trust you, John? Can I trust you? Should I confess my greatest fear? My greatest fear, it's driving me crazy. It tortures my innermost soul. Is that you'll carry out my request, make my future myth come alive, but that you'll forget who I am, John, who you've been talking to all this while, sharing our deepest, most cherished secrets, and make Jack be nimble, or Jack and the beanstalk, or Jack Sprat could eat no fat, and to the star of the myth that appears on the silver screen. Please, John, I'm begging you, get my name right. Jack, former partner of Jill. Give me my due. I'm speaking from my heart, John. Soul to soul, me to you. I'm not anyone but me. Don't get confused. John hears another line, as fast as he could caper. Oh, I'd gouge my eyes out, John. Gouge them out and throw them away before I'd let them see the day when someone like, who, John? Little Jack Horner? Who sat in a corner? Who would you choose instead of me? Becomes a mega movie star by climbing a mountain taller than Everest with a baby on its back and ends up holding an Oscar by the pool in the tale that I created, John? For me? And that's the end of Jack's presentation to John. So, one of the most significant images of our time happened historically over 100 years ago. Sorry, clearing my throat once again. Information, which is only itself has a meaning, remains information. He crossed the river, for instance, simply remains a piece of information. But what about he crossed the Rubicon, or he crossed the Delaware, or he crossed the Hellespont, or how about they crossed the Red Sea? An image is an item of information which generates associative meaning. Information that has significance, universal significance, becomes an image. So the piece of information that I believe is one of the most significant images of our own time that happened over 100 years ago is that when the peasants during the Russian Revolution entered the Winter Palace, the home of the Tsars, they could not believe what they saw. They could not believe that people were living on a level of luxury that was so far beyond the lives that they were living in their cramped, cold, crowded apartments or on their meager scrubland farms. That incident, that cluster of information, has become one of the most significant images of our time. An image of the awakening to the state of higher aspiration. Now, I don't know whether it was Marshall McLuhan, the great Canadian thinker, who coined the term the age of aspiration, but it's what he's talking about when he says at the dawn of television that the ability of peasants all over the world to see the level at which other people are living their lives would mean that no one in future, man or woman, would be happy to live at the level of which his or her ancestors had lived for hundreds, perhaps thousands of years. You cannot turn on your television set or look for the news on one of your internet devices without seeing people massing at the southern border of the United States, hoping to get in, whether legally or illegally, in order to start a very different lifestyle than the one into which they were born. In these same news reports, you will see people in leaky, dangerous boats crossing the Mediterranean Sea from North Africa, heading for the southern coast of Europe, hoping, whether legally or illegally, to be able to start to live a very different lifestyle than the one into which they were born. So too in the country in which I live, Canada, which doesn't have masses of people at the border, but which does have people applying legally and showing up illegally inside our borders, hoping to begin a life which will be very different from the ones their ancestors lived for so many years and into which they were born. The characters in this book I call mythicals, as they are characters in mythical stories. But the inspiration for this book came from the life in which I am living in actuality. This is a mythical story. I cringe every time I read or hear someone say that a myth is that which is not true. On the contrary, the myths of the earth, the collections of the most significant images of the human experience, are the great repository of all of the great human truths. So myth does not mean untrue. Myth means true, human truths. Here then, once again, is my book, John and Mother Goose, The Carnival of Tales. It's found on Amazon. Where there's more information, it's found at rocksmillspress.com, which is my publisher's website, and on my website, a planning notebook and a journal. 2 books, 2 full-size books, 2 free books. If you just click on the icon, you get to read those books, wherein I talk about all of the topics, all of the issues that planning and writing such a book as this one, The Mother Goose Carnival of Tales, brings to mind. So thank you for watching this video.